Today's video looks at what happened after slavery ended in the Caribbean and what freed slaves did. Stay tuned to find out more. As a person of West Indian heritage, I chose this topic of Caribbean peasantry as I was interested in finding out more about Caribbean life in this time and what my ancestors may have been doing. Caribbean slavery ended in 1834, but full emancipation was granted in 1838 after a failed apprenticeship system was implemented. The apprenticeship system was supposed to be a bridge between slavery and freedom, but it never worked this way, leading to calls from home and abroad for it to end. In 1838, under British rule, most freed slaves became peasants, as it was a choice between that, starving, or leaving for pastures new. The islands which were freed included Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia, Trinidad, Jamaica, Grenada, Montserrat and Barbados. These were all English-speaking islands. Out of duress, not having much resources or land, many freed slaves remained on plantations and worked. Those who did not want reminders of the past left and set forth to Central America, settling in places such as Costa Rica, Honduras and Panama. Some freed slaves attempted to purchase land but were unsuccessful, as landowners would not sell to former slaves. With little options and prospects, those who remained on the plantations were charged high rents and paid low wages. In spite of the high rents, the living conditions were the same as they were during slavery, which led to freed slaves becoming discontented. Eventually, freed slaves would refuse to work and leave the plantations, taking their chances elsewhere. As a result, the plantation owners would bring in indentured servants from Asia. This idea of peasantry was known as Reconstructed Peasantry, and it was designed to control former slaves and was seen as less dangerous by the abolitionists such as Joseph Surgeon, Lord Wilberforce, who believed slaves were not ready for full freedom. Plantation owners created this dependency, believing freed slaves would not seek better living conditions or higher pay, as they owned no land and had little power outside of abolitionists and missionaries. Freed slaves who could purchase land were limited in what they could plant to bananas or sugarcane, as those two items were seen as the most valuable at this time. Landowners saw bananas as not desirable to plant and grow. In Trinidad and Barbados, peasants were encouraged to plant sugarcane and sell it on the market. By the 1920s, there was a shift in priorities, which was most likely due to the end of the First World War, as bananas now overtook sugarcane as the food source to grow. The global demand was prevalent in the influence it had on what food items to grow, as the Great Depression in the 1930s saw a growth in demand for sugarcane around the world, though different countries grew different products. In Barbados, for example, freed slaves could not purchase land unless it was in mountainous areas of the islands, as plantation owners occupied the most fertile lands. As with the general consensus around the Caribbean, peasantry was developed to create a stable population of rural workers. One of the unique factors in Barbados which did not happen in the rest of the Caribbean was landowners gave peasants and freed slaves small plots of land, and this supported the growth of peasants in Barbados. In Jamaica, the trading of sugarcane required registration as a trader, with local factories to sell to them. Some freed slaves also got involved in sharecropping, where a peasant would have a stake in the land in return for labour. This deal was not a success, although it was one way a freed slave could secure employment and a place to live. An emerging way freed slaves began to gain land, a place to live, and a job was through missionaries, who purchased land from plantation and landowners, as they were white and they allowed black people to live on the land and create mini economies which became known as free villages. Emancipation from slavery was a tough time for freed slaves, as this was a group of people who did not know what freedom was and how to be free. They were exploited and subject to racial discrimination in respects to buying land. The conditions they lived in created a powder keg, which resulted in freed slaves not working and being replaced by other cheap labour. Peasantry was a class thing, with the European wanting a class system at the time. Freed slaves could have benefited from being provided with some land and a form of compensation to set up a life for them and their community. If you would like to know more about these topics, please check out the description bar for more information. Please comment, like and subscribe, and until next time, thank you for watching.